and welcome to the How I Became a Perfumer podcast. In each episode, we explore the different roles in the flavor and fragrance industry, as well as talk to founders of independent projects. My name is Tanya Mironova. I'm a career coach dedicated to helping professional teams and independent specialists to distill their skills and sniff out best solutions to their challenges. If you're enjoying the podcast and want to support it, please subscribe and leave a review on your favorite listening platform. Thank you. My guest for today's episode is Jenna Troyli. Jenna is the managing editor of Perfumer&Flavorist Plus. If you're wondering what does Plus stand for, please return to the previous episode with Jenna. The link is in the description box. She also was the conference moderator for the World Perfumery Congress, which recently took place in Geneva, Switzerland. Jenna reports on the latest news, ingredients, regulatory updates, and technologies in the flavor and fragrance industry. So Jenna, welcome back.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be back.
Well, likewise, we are so happy to have you back. Well, I started last episode with you, and by the way, you're the first guest who I have for the second time.
Oh, I'm so honored.
For me, it's an honor as well. I've started with comparing Perfumer and Flavorist with Wok in the flavor and fragrance industry. And now I want to compare it and your work with glue in the flavor and fragrance industry.
With glue? Okay.
Just because when I was reading your editorial note for the July edition, you wrote there that professionals were able to escape the office to connect with fellow creatives. And it happened thanks to you.
Oh.
I really believe that there are not too many venues to make all the professionals meet. And the World Perfumery Congress is probably one of the few physical ones. So how did you feel during the Congress?
It's true. I mean, I think that the World Perfumery Congress is kind of like a wedding. So it's an excuse for everyone to come together. And it's like, okay, we have to fly there. We have to celebrate them. We get to see these people who we haven't seen in years and years. So that's what I relate the World Perfumery Congress to, is a wedding. So it's so amazing to be able to see people from around the world who I've met, whether it was when I first started almost 4 years ago now, or, just a couple months ago because they live in the US. But it's always so incredible just to hug someone and be like, oh, we're here together in Geneva. This is so great. And we get to be around, these creatives who are just so inspiring and get to share all of their knowledge with us, but also get to be drinking with us too. So that's not so bad, right?
No, it's not. I mean, on the occasion, and also if you said it's a wedding, where have you seen wedding without people drinking?
Oh my gosh, that would be criminal.
But I really adore your comparison because when I was looking for the pictures, and I will deliberately leave a link to the directory with the pictures, people are so happy there.
Yeah, it's really great too because, the expo hall this year felt like Alice in Wonderland because of the way that everything was decorated, which was really cool. Everybody could just be really imaginative. We had the most exhibitors ever this year, which was 120. So you really just got to explore, smell everything. Instead of things getting sent to you in a lab as a perfumer for you to smell, you get to sit down with other perfumers from other companies who are also your friends and discuss how these ingredients, you would work with them. Would you put them in a home care ingredient? Would you make them in air care? Would it be fine fragrance? So it's really cool to be able to, one, reconnect, but two, really get to explore and kind of be like a kid in a candy store if that's your profession.
I saw you a kid on a scene many times. There are a few pictures, and this one is a favorite of mine. I don't know if you see me when you are standing with your I'm showing to Jenna, when Jenna is standing with her hands to the sides and moderating another session, I suppose.
Yes, open arms. I've realized that because I make such faces while I talk too, usually my candids are not really great. But it's nice for the photographer to catch me doing a grand gesture while I'm speaking. So that's fun. I like that photo too.
And so emotional. So, well, speaking about emotions, I do want to ask you compare the emotional states of the participants, or maybe the energy is better when the Congress took place in Miami. I guess it was Miami 2 years ago.
Yeah, Miami in 2022.
And now here, because these are the two congresses you've been moderating, actively participating, etc. So I will kind of ask you to do that for us.
Sure. So definitely it was completely different. We had our second most attended WPC ever in Geneva, which was so incredible. Everyone was so excited to either just leave the lab for one day because they're in Europe, or 2 days. And we've noticed that all of our European events do have more attendance. Obviously, Europe is home to, I would say, a majority of our perfumers or fragrance creators, which is really special. But also in Miami, it was fresh after COVID, still kind of in COVID times. So it was tough. We couldn't get a lot of our Asian attendees to come because of their visa situation. So that was hard. And it was still kind of like, it's such an industry where everyone does a double kiss. So when it's COVID, you're like, should I still double kiss? I don't know. So it was still very touch and go, but everyone was happy to be there. But it definitely was, this year, it just felt like there was nothing holding anyone back from celebrating and nothing holding anyone back from really wanting to be in those conference sessions, like shoulder to shoulder. Some conference sessions were completely full. So that was really amazing to see.
Yeah, that's perfect. Well, thank you for these comparisons. But I also want to know whether events like this drain energy from you or give you energy.
That's a great question. I feel like I just thrive and love being on stage. It brings me so much joy to get up there. It's definitely exhausting. Once everything was done, it felt like, okay, like absolutely I need to start building back up from zero. But the energy that the crowd gave me every single day and the speakers who were just so passionate in what they're doing was so fulfilling for me. And I got to sit down with people who have inspired so many perfumers, like Christophe Laudemille. People were just, they couldn't get enough. They were hoping he would be on stage for another 30 minutes. So it really does. I think that it gives me a lot of energy, and it's really fulfilling for me. And if I could do it more often, I absolutely would.
Wow. But I believe you're the right person just to be doing all of that. So that's why you're there.
Well, you're doing the exact same. You're doing your research, you're creating questions, you're sourcing your guests. Like, there's so much that goes into everything. And, you as you're an incredible interviewer.
Thank you.
So it's a lot of effort that goes into that. And whether it's like just through the mic or on stage, you have to have like, one, the energy, but also there's like something to you that makes people want to talk. So that's something that you have. So just wanted to let you know you're great. We've recently published your interview. So make sure that we can link that too in here, because everyone needs to read your interview on Perfumer&Flavorist Plus.
Oh, thank you, Jenna. What I wanted to ask you next is, there are a lot of categories of people who are visiting events like that. And there are two categories which I am a little bit, I feel like I want to support them more sometimes. These are students and independent perfumers. And in our first talk, we discussed how you support students and that you're really ready to recruit them as volunteers. So now I want just to ask you, how did you make everyone feel included in this event?
Yeah, absolutely. So for students, they do get a discounted rate. For WPC, we honestly know that students do not have the money to pay the full WPC registration. So we do make that available. And then also we visited a SIPCA just a month prior to WPC and got to meet a lot of students, and offered, if you want to volunteer, you can come to WPC for free. We just need you to help maybe stuff some tote bags for attendees prior to, and then you can sit in on sessions, you can walk the conference hall. So that's kind of an opportunity for students to take advantage of WPC. All we just need is just a couple hours of their time as a volunteer. So
that's cool.
that's definitely one major thing for students, because obviously, and there's so many mentors that they can take away from WPC. I know that they've been, seeing a lot of perfumers who are now kind of celebrities in this space, that media is giving them the attention within brands, but they've known these perfumers far before that. So getting to meet them in person is a really great opportunity. And then for independent perfumers, previously in WPC 2022 in Miami, we worked with the independent perfumers who are based out of Los Angeles. So they have their own association. And I got to meet with some of those perfumers who ended up being able to make WPC because it was in Europe. So that was really cool. That's an international association. So yeah, I really wanted to make sure that independent perfumers felt like, you don't need to work at, the top 5 F&F companies to feel like you're seen, or that you get to be able to participate and get access to some of these materials that otherwise you can't afford, or maybe you haven't been able to experience in person because you can't get a sample yet. So it's really great for that to be able to be an opportunity, even if it's just every 2 years.
Sadly. Sadly for me, as somebody who, as we know, haven't visited. Yeah, likewise. But talking about the major companies who you mentioned, these are the companies who make trends. And you're the best person to ask about the trends which you might have encountered during the WPC. Oh, of course, you knew about them, like you had known about them before, but which are the trends which probably our listeners should be aware of and which caught your attention during the event especially?
Right, absolutely. So one major trend, which was presented by Givaudan, and also we had Fashion Snoops do a conference session on it, was just the way that Gen Z is interacting with fragrances right now and how they're responding. And Givaudan did this, it's called What is Love exhibition in New York. And they kind of were just showing how Gen Z is, one, shopping for fragrances, but two, kind of reimagining these ingredients that we may have been thinking, oh, my grandmother wears that, but now Gen Z is into it. And so that's been really interesting to see how Gen Z is shaking things up. And recently I had an interview with DSM Firmenich master perfumer Henri Blanc, and she was saying Gen Z is helping us as perfumers become rule breakers of all of these things that typically we would do, as far as adding 2 ingredients together. Okay, this works with this, and that's the only way it'll go together. No, Gen Z wants to flip that, start layering, start personalizing their fragrances, make something that's completely their own. So that's really cool. But I also think that we're seeing a massive wave of influence from the Middle East in layering culture. So that's really cool. The musks, the ouds. So that's really something to be on the lookout for, and kind of just utilizing mists in a way to make those layers. So we've seen so many things, especially on TikTok, for dupes. I can't afford Baccarat Rouge, so I'm going to get the dupe. Instead, Mark Natowski, who used to work with Victoria's Secret Beauty, took the stage and was saying, instead of, making only eau de parfum for, your top consumers, start creating some mists of that brand or of that specific scent, so younger consumers can be able to access it. They'll wear more throughout the day. Sure, you're not going to get that initial sale, but you'll start growing your clientele and getting these people in to avoid those dupes. And so that's really cool to be able to see how mists are utilized in layering, but also how, it just brings me right back to just being younger and just trying on so many different things at once, realizing that doesn't work. And but it seems like Gen Z really knows what they're doing with that. So I think that that's really special.
Oh, that's cool. When you mentioned Dubai and you mentioned the Middle East, but of course it was the last question, but as a Gen Z, I'm just flipping up the question. Flipping it, I don't know what would be the preposition after flip, but I'm just doing something with the questions.
Sure.
So asking them not in the right order. So when you mentioned Middle East, and I have done some research trying to find out what's going to be the next location for the WPC. And I was surprised that I didn't find the answer. And yeah, I mean, like, it is either me or you are still considering some secret options.
You are a super sleuth. So it is not you. It is me.
Okay.
We're in the middle of just kind of weighing our last final option. So we're hoping to have that announcement very soon. And I'll be sure to let you know as soon as possible. You'll be on one of the first on my list, I promise.
Thank you. Again, I'm very happy that I'm doing this job. Right. So it's not just me. Everyone doesn't know that. But as soon as it's going to be available, I believe we're all going to be anticipating the event. There is one more thing I wanted to touch upon. Technically, the WPC, again, it's an independent space so that everyone could come and share ideas. And you really invited speakers from all the categories, all the companies, independent consultants, whoever. Do you feel like you succeeded in making everyone heard? I'm asking it because, you've said like, yeah, I'm doing interviews. And I sometimes feel that I am lacking maybe someone, or maybe I don't give enough space to someone, or maybe the ideas are circulating all around and there are no new ideas coming. So when you were assessing probably the Congress, how did you feel about this, like everyone being represented? It's so difficult.
No, I absolutely agree. I think that really first began when I lived in Paris for from the summer of 2022 until the summer of 2023, and realized how kind of US I was covering for a while as an international publication, just because I had access the most to the US. So then once I was in Europe, I was covering more things in Europe. So it just really where I was based, unfortunately, even though we have the internet, we can email everyone. It's the proximity to people that can make people share more, or you can cover more, go to certain events. So when we hosted in Miami, it was very much a North America conference. When we had it in Geneva, it was much more international, definitely. But I would love to have more insights, from what's going on in the Middle East, from what's going on in Asia. So I definitely do think that there's room to grow, and there are way more things that I could be covering, and to be able to have access to those professionals who are willing to share those insights. But I agree. I think that, it would be silly for me to say, absolutely, I ticked every box. And we just released our 2025 editorial calendar for Perfumer and Flavorist Plus. And in my editor's note, I'm going to say, I want more international presence on these voices. Americans can quickly send emails and be like, I want to write about this, this, and this. And that's very much so their brand. But I really am looking for more international voices, more voices, from the Asian countries, Middle East, UK, everywhere. I would be thrilled to have that. But yeah, I think that that's something that I'm really thinking about now more than ever, is diversifying. Doing my best.
Well, yeah, likewise. Just asking maybe you, for your piece of advice what you do. So for me as well, to be able to, so that it didn't feel like we are only Europe centered or the US centered.
Right. And I'm really trying to, when I go out to the events in Europe, give my card and then follow up on LinkedIn and try to make that connection. I also do understand that a lot of creators aren't as comfortable on the microphone or aren't as comfortable writing something. So maybe I can send you questions to fill out if that's easier. And you can do them on your own time and you send them back to me. But so that's something that I'm really going to be investing in for the rest of the year and well into 2025 and beyond.
Oh, perfect. Another thing I wanted to ask you about is probably closing the event. You stayed a little bit in Europe to do all the procedures, etc., all the stuff. How in your head have you been assessing that? Was it like the first feeling maybe, Was like, oh, it was a mess, or it was perfect, it was a great wedding, or like, how did you feel?
I think that it was very much day to day. As soon as we got there, I got there almost a week early to set up because Pal Expo is gigantic. They host car shows there. They host watch events there. Like it's just so huge. So that was just kind of overwhelming in a sense to really begin packing all of these bags for, over 1,600 attendees to prepare for that. So you're like, okay, here we go. But, I think that, day one, we had our opening cocktail and it was sponsored by Mulhausen. I've never seen so many people come to our opening cocktail. It was so full. And so that was really great to have everyone in one spot together. And then it was like a bullet train until the final day. So I think that from the conference session side, because that's all I work on, and my colleague does the expo hall, I was so thrilled to have everyone showed up. And everyone, a lot of people had samples, and attendees love samples, smelling new things. One thing that kind of was a little bit like just a surprise and unfortunate event is that our final location had to be changed for our final party. So instead of it being at this really cool location, we ended up having to have it at Pal Expo. So that was a little disappointing. But
I believe people haven't noticed it really, because I received the email and I thought like, oh wow, how thoughtful, because the hotel which I booked was close to the exhibition, so I was thinking like, oh, perfect.
An easier trip home, right?
Right.
But that's like, I guess any wedding will have some hiccups, so that is the best way to put it. But other than that, I was so happy that we ended up having incredible attendance. I got to have these speakers who were on my wish list forever. I had Inner Parfums CEO Jean Madar, which was so cool to be on stage with him. So it was really great. And I was like, the one thing that I wish I could have done was announce the 2026 location. I feel like I'm letting everyone down.
I think that maybe people are anticipating it, so like there is some extra interest to that.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about your style, by the way. You've chosen black. Or according to the pictures, you've chosen black.
On stage. Yeah. Well, so in Miami, I went very Miami. I did very bright colors. And then for this year, I knew that I would be on stage more because I did more kind of like moderation with some talks. So I kind of had to think of what would, one, make a lot of sense for me to be running around in all day, because we started conference sessions at 9 a.m. and we finished at 5 o'clock. I don't know if you saw, but I wear heels every single event. I always wear heels. And I wear them all day long. And so that's my one thing. I can wear anything, but I will have some serious heels on. And that was my like staple piece. So I know now I'm trying to be like, what did I wear? I wore a black jumpsuit, and then I wore a black shirt with a blazer, and then I wore a black dress. So yeah, I was very black.
I mean, I was thinking, was there any secret idea behind that? Because, well, if a person chooses style for some reason or color for some reason, so.
Because once I was living in Paris, I started realizing I was buying more black shirts. So I was thinking I was very like Parisian, maybe.
Probably. Another thing I wanted to ask you about the Congress is, quite often at events like that, people like to, make some award ceremonies or something like that. Maybe I'm wrong, but you haven't made any categories or any award ceremonies, or did you make some, or did you think about making some maybe?
I think that that is something that's come up within Alured, who is half of the World Perfumery Congress. So the other half is the American Society of Perfumers. So usually the American Society of Perfumers will hold their award ceremony at WPC. So in 2022, it was on the final day, and everyone got to get together to announce these two awards. And one of them is a Lifetime Achievement Award. So this year, instead of waiting until the final day at the American Society of Perfumers booth, they did host an award ceremony there, which was really cool because they poured champagne and they awarded this master perfumer. His name's John Pascal. And he just made this really incredible speech. And after he's like, perfumers never die, they just evaporate. And I thought that that was so special. So that was very cool.
Yes, indeed. But I was thinking that if in 2 years you decide to have any award ceremony of your own, I think people in this industry, they just don't have too many opportunities to feel appreciated, how to assess their value. And also, I've been thinking, just sharing my thoughts, that the flavor and fragrance industry is so special, not only because people work with senses and all that. In other industries, people do as well. But in many industries, people enter them because of money quite often, which is not the case in the flavor and fragrance industry. Or, I don't know, because it's like a low competitiveness and it's easy to start working there and something. And again, it's not the case for the flavor and fragrance industry. So basically, people are not coming for money because hard to earn that much. And people are not coming because it's easy, because it's really hard. And that's what your work is about and my work is about, just to share the information. And when I was thinking that the awards may be just for some people a factor to motivate them, feel great about what they are doing, because of course they're happy doing what they are doing, but they maybe need some extra, like an extra something. And yeah, just Perfume and Flavorist would be a lovely place to share, and the WPCs are lovely places to share some recognition maybe for the people working in the industry. So
no, I love that. No, I absolutely agree. And these are people who, whether it's from childhood or something comes along, they're inspired to pursue this career and to be a super smeller. Like, not everybody's gifted in that way. So I agree. No, absolutely. And it is something that I think is worth looking into. And when I do, I can say who was really rooting for it. So I appreciate that. I think that's a great idea.
Cool. All right. So we don't know when is going to be the next location for the WPC, but there is one event which we know the next location for, and you're again organizing it. So maybe you will share a few words about Flavorcon.
Oh, sure. Yes. I was like, where is it? What am I doing? Yes, Flavorcon is for flavor chemists and flavor brands. So anything that has taste in it, whether it's your toothpaste or chips or soups or even pet food. So really anything that has flavor in it is going to be for Flavorcon. And it's basically like your WPC, but for flavorists. So we have half of it's expo hall, half of it is conference sessions. It's going to be in Atlantic City, New Jersey. And October 7th, we're hosting a live organoleptic panel, which means that we'll have 2 sets of flavorists, flavor chemists, who will run through a set of raw materials with attendees. And they'll say, how would you use this in an ingredient? What kind of notes are you getting from this? And then on October 8th and 9th, we will have those conference sessions in Expo Hall. So it's right around the corner. I cannot believe it.
Well, I believe it's a very huge thing for everyone involved in the flavor industry and like to learn a lot. Learning about flavor, like what makes flavors so special and flavorists work so demanding. You will learn a lot as well, I believe.
Absolutely. And one major thing for both conferences is this talk of artificial intelligence and how people are utilizing it in their day-to-day. And I know that a lot of things is, will it take my job? But really everyone's using it as a tool, which I think is something that's obvious. That's the same with, any like graphic design. It didn't take away any money from painters. So I think that that's something just to be thinking about. And that was one of the major points at WPC too. So I'm excited to hear from a flavorist perspective.
Exactly. I have no idea what they are utilizing it for. You will probably share this information in one of the editions afterwards, as you always do.
Absolutely.
All right. You know what's going to be next. The drill.
I'm such an indecisive person too, so this always gives me anxiety, but I'm ready.
All right. So blitz questions. Well, the first one, the best dish you tried in Switzerland.
Oh, the best dish. I mean, I feel like I have to say fondue.
All right.
Because, come on, I got it literally for almost every meal. And by the end of it, I was teaching everyone else how to eat it because some people were just trying to stick their own forks in. So I was like, no, this is not fondue etiquette. I'm a professional now. You must know.
I need you next time. Okay. Because I don't know, really. I believe maybe I had this experience once and I never had somebody teaching me.
Oh, it's so fun. And I first learned from some fragrance professionals when I went to Geneva for the IFRA Global Summit in December. So also it was like snowing and I was having fondue. It was such a great time. So now I just really feel like I could show. Let me know. We'll have fondue together. I'll show you.
Perfect. Agreed. The most weird thing you encountered while being there?
You know, what's so funny is after the day is done, I take off my heels. I'm hanging out in my hotel room and I turn on the TV and there's this like strange show. I think it's like a loaf of bread or a potato floating in space. Have you seen it? And he's in an astronaut suit.
No.
But I keep seeing him and I'm like, where is he from? I'm going to have to send it to you. It's so silly. I don't know. But that was hilarious to me. And I was like, that's what I needed at the end of the day. So I don't know what show that is, but that's what was on.
If we find it out before the episode is live, we will definitely leave the link to this wonderful show.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a loaf of bread or a potato. I'll send you what it is. Maybe someone can help.
If it's not even obvious, if it's a loaf of bread or a potato, things are really bad. All right. What's the most unusual scent you discovered at the WPC?
Oh, that's a really good question. So there was a session with IFF and they've been working with a company to recreate scents from paintings in museums. And they did it as an installation. But one of the paintings has this, it's kind of like a canal. So it stinks. And they said this is not going to be a good scent. As soon as you smell it, there's a trash bin next to you. Be sure to pass your blotter as soon as you have done it. And people were, it was so close to their nose. And it was such an intense, just like dirty. They even said that it had like scents of like manure in it. It was just so crazy. So that was, I mean, I understand the thought behind creating that, but actually having that scent was so odd to be excited to smell. But it was a hit, not to be worn.
Not to be worn, but yeah, it's something we also, need in the industry. This olfactory art, real art. That's great that you've had the chance to encounter it.
Right. And I think that it's fun because a lot of times it can feel like very exclusive because sometimes you feel like you smell something and just as a layman, you smell something, you don't really know how to describe it. And that can kind of make you feel insecure. It's the same as going to a museum. Maybe you feel like you're not getting that painting or that piece. So getting to be able to merge those two together and say, here, this is a new way to experience it. And as you're looking at it, like take a smell of what this canal is. Or they've also done like, if it's going to be something with like roses and they'll make something with roses. So I think that that's really a special project and something worth kind of looking into. I'm trying to think, I can't remember off the top of my head what that, who IFF's working with, but it'll come to me shortly, I'm sure.
Right. And also at IFF, like in the Netherlands, they do have a lot of inspiration for this kind of work. All right. If WPC was just one scent, what would that be? I believe it's not this canal.
No, can't be.
No.
I don't think anything should be that canal. So let me see if WPC could be a scent, what would it be? I think that it would be, oh man, maybe like a blooming rose.
Good.
It can start something that's like very raw and then turn into something very full. So I think that's something that, you know, you come in, you're not really sure what to expect. And as that scent is drying, it's just becoming more full and more fulfilling to the nose. So maybe let's go with that.
Yeah, that's a beautiful comparison. Because when you said about rose, I was thinking maybe it's because of the raw materials which are produced right now. I mean, the new materials you've written about, again in July edition, but I like this metaphor.
Yeah, on the spot. It's called, so IFF worked with Odeuropa to create that, just so you know. That's something that's interesting, and they are just creating new scents and how to really track scent heritage, if you will.
Well, perfect. And we also had the guest for the Odeuropa project, Sofia, Collette, Erich, who was a project manager in one of the first episodes. So, you know, everything is interconnected.
Full circle. I love that.
Likewise. And the most challenging question, are you ready?
I think so.
What manicure are you going to make for the Flavorcon? Maybe you could tell to our listeners why I'm asking about it, because...
I am right. So I love getting my nails done. I usually have very long acrylic nails. And that's what I'm kind of known for, other than my heels when on stage or at events. During Flavorcon, I did have flowers on my nails.
You're in WPC.
No, sorry, WPC. Yeah. I had flowers on my nails. And it was funny because I ran into Okema, one of Okema's sales reps, and she had the same design on her nails. And I was like, oh my gosh, twins. But for Flavorcon, I feel like maybe I should put out a poll and see what I should get on my nails, because I don't know if it should be do you have something that you think I should get?
Well, except for ice cream, no.
Ice cream nails. Those are
maybe because there was one of the editions, I believe, in Perfumer&Flavorist, and I do remember the ice cream on the coverage. So, yes. But the poll idea is very cool because, you know, it's something special about you. We associate you with that. I mean, me, maybe some other listeners, readers, and though it doesn't sound like, oh, we're not discussing rocket physics here, but on the other hand, like these small details, they make life cooler.
And so much fun. I mean, you know, I could do a very because we're hosting it at a casino, I could do a very casino style nail with some like dice or like some things like that. That could be fun. So we'll see. Yeah, maybe I'll do a poll. I think that's a great idea. I think that'd be so fun to be engaging. And then I'll also take some pics and I'll be sure to tag you in those. So now you're making my brain start to think, what's next?
Well, and I'm thinking that I need to edit this episode as soon as possible so that you have enough time to run a poll and also to actually make your nails. Right. So thank you, Jenna. I adore every time we meet. Thanks.
So much fun. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. And I look forward to working with you more in the future. If you want to ever write more, I love your articles. I love your questions. If you have anyone who you want to recommend, you just let me know.
Thank you. So perfect.
Well. Amazing. So much fun.